You know, sometimes movies just don't hit right the first time. Maybe they were ahead of the curve with folks not totally mentally prepared to digest everything going on there. Sometimes it's lumped in with similar stuff from that era and discounted as derivative or the same. Or maybe it just flopped because of divine intervention or something. But the initial success of a movie shouldn't define it forever, which is why I've put together a little list of the top 5 horror movies worth a rewatch. Coming in at number 5, we've got It Chapter 2. We are flying out of the gate with this one. Keegan, what are you talking about? It Chapter 2 needs a rewatch. It made like $500 million at the box office. It was the biggest horror movie of that year. It rounded up the story we all waited for years, and all of that, I say yes, these things are true, but here's the deal. It Chapter 2 was a bit of a disappointment. After the rip-roaring good time that was Chapter 1, I went in with high hopes. Hell, they even shot part of the baseball scene in my hometown, which is a fun little tidbit I like to throw around from time to time. I wanted to like this movie. It had all sorts of awesome stuff going for it. They were set up for success, and in the end, the financial success was there. The proliferation of the legend of Pennywise was there, but the overall satisfaction was not. Was it because I went in with high hopes? Did I expect it to blow Chapter 1 out of the water and possibly even live up to the book? Well, maybe not. Which means that revisiting it outside of the packed, pre-COVID theater environment might actually reveal new things. Maybe going in with more balanced expectations for a rewatch will open my eyes to other things the movie did right. Maybe the pacing isn't as wonky as I remember, especially if I can watch it on my own time. But yeah, if you have any sort of strong opinion on It Chapter 2, whether that be positive or negative, it's time to give it a rewatch. It's no longer brand new, it's had some time to become less fresh in our memories. And now, with well-worn, objective eyes, we can figure out how we really feel about the latest incarnation of Stephen King's classic clown story. Well, get to it. Tell me what you think of this one. Coming in at number 4, we've got Event Horizon. Time has been quite good to Event Horizon. As highly ambitious movies tend to do, this one underperformed at the box office. Upsetting, but not too surprising. A lot of folks blame studio interference for Event Horizon's lackluster release, with a lot of the movie being chopped out and changed because it was too weird, and also because of some time restraints. Fun fact, the editing of this flick was rushed after Titanic missed some key production deadlines. Paramount figured this was probably less valuable than the soon-to-be legendary nautical romance. I mean, fair, but it kinda sucks that it turned out that way. Originally clocking in at around 130 minutes, Paul Anderson's vision was chopped way down. So at the time, it didn't make all that much sense to people. When you tell the story of a spaceship with an experimental engine possessed by a malevolent force, you want those details. It did quite well when it released on home video, however, leading to Anderson getting the opportunity to piece together a director's cut of sorts. Unfortunately, by that point, a lot of the original footage was lost or destroyed, which made it quite difficult to complete. Still though, Event Horizon has garnered quite the following in the years after its release. In fact, it's referenced quite often in all sorts of media that came after it. So if it's been a while since you saw Event Horizon, maybe give it another chance. Do a little reading on it, maybe watch a history of video, then hop in with some new perspective. Even though the movie itself hasn't changed much since release, the experience seems to have altered itself quite a bit. Coming in at number 3, we've got Paranormal Activity, the original. Every once in a while, a movie comes along and defines the next few years of horror. Not all horror that follows will try to emulate it, but a lot of stuff will try to cash in on the premise. And if you're lucky, you get a whole series with which to build lore that definitely didn't exist in the original. It happened with slashers and their iconic villains. It happened with self-aware horror in the 90s and early 2000s. It happened with the remaking of Japanese horror for American audiences. It happened with found footage, and it happened to Paranormal Activity too. This movie rocked everyone's world on a next to nothing budget. It was scary in all the right ways and really took advantage of its minimalist approach to maximize the scares. The story was lacking and the performances were mostly okay, but it didn't matter because Paranormal Activity was more than the sum of its parts. And then the sequels started coming. Because it was so cheap to make, they started pumping these out like water from a fire hydrant, and it was crazy how quickly they racked up Paranormal Activity follow-ups. Eventually, they did away with numbering altogether for the sequels and then tried to sell them as spin-offs and revivals and their own little thing. And with each sequel, the novelty lessened. And with the novelty going out the window, they weren't left with much. In fact, after a while, they got worse at implementing the kind of scares that made the first few such compelling watches. And now I can't imagine anyone being excited to hear about a new Paranormal Activity. It's done. it's over. I mean, probably. It's entirely possible that someone finds a wicked way to revive the series with a fresh injection of talent and creativity, but for now we wait. Although, going back and rewatching the movie that started it all is still on the table. It's been so long since the idea felt fresh, it's probably a whole lot of fun to revisit what got this train rolling in the first place. Forget all of the cheesy YouTubers attempting to trick their viewers into watching their own Paranormal Activity remakes. The best scares are the original ones. Some folks return to stuff like the Blair Witch Project and don't find it all that interesting, citing the historical significance as greater than the scare factor. But I think that Paranormal Activity, while not as influential overall, holds up quite well. Coming in at number 2, we've got Devil. I'd say anything involving M. Night Shyamalan is worth a rewatch for various reasons. Yes, even The Last Airbender. Bad movies can teach you just as much as good ones, and when you've got a director as wide-ranging as Shyamalan, there's always something interesting to be picked up from a watch. Oddly enough, this one wasn't screened for critics in advance. I don't know if they weren't confident in it, but it wasn't that bad of a flick. In fact, it's pretty decent. Devil was originally supposed to be part of a series of modern supernatural tales known as the Night Chronicles trilogy, but that never came to fruition. However, the tale of a group of strangers trapped in an elevator with one person being possibly possessed by the devil is a fun one. Some folks will say that the runtime's too short and the story's too basic, but in all honesty, those are the elements that really make it work. If it were any longer, it would drag, and who needs an overly complex story when your premise is so simple to begin with? Seriously, this was released when M. Night was peak meme, so folks heard his name and wrote it off. He's not even the director, he was just involved in creating it. But if you want a genuinely scary, fast-paced, and self-contained horror, take a look at Devil one more time. And coming in at number 1, we've got Suspiria 2018. Whenever somebody remakes a bona fide classic, it's gonna raise some eyebrows. Until recently, it didn't look like anyone would forgive Gus Van Sant for recreating Psycho the way he did. Like, most people still want him burned at the stake for that, but some people are attempting a Psycho remake apology tour. No comment. But when it was revealed that the director of Call Me By Your Name was taking a swing at the 1977 witch-filled cult classic, a lot of folks took issue. Some say you should just leave stuff alone, and others thought that it wouldn't be served correctly by this director whose career looked a whole lot different than Dario Argento's. But in the end, despite all of the controversy, the movie got made. And it was good! It was different than the original, but it still paid homage throughout. It lengthened the story in many ways, with a bunch of new elements being added, remaking certain iconic moments while shying away from others and even adding in some brand new incredible bits. It's definitely not for everyone, and it's not the ideal remake of Argento's horror mainstay, but who can decide what an ideal remake is anyway? But if you saw it when it came out and weren't quite sure about how you felt about it, there's no time like the present to go and cement your opinion. This is a densely packed, slow-moving movie, so a second watch will more than likely result in seeing details you might have missed on the first time. So put on your dancing shoes and see what you think. It's been a while since I've watched any of these movies, and that probably goes for you folks too. So did this list awaken any forgotten memories? Do you agree with the flicks featured? What's a horror movie you wish people gave another chance? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more fergalicious ones from the top 5 SCP monsters from mythology. Rob Graham says, one rule for the wild hunt: join, hide, or die. I'm gonna go with join. It seems like a fun time. Adhoc Shaj B says, Keegan, your laughter made my ears bleed. That's a job well done if you ask me. Zen Variety says, I disagree that there are no new ideas. The problem is that political correctness and wokeness destroy creativity. Man, give it a rest. I was talking about how storytelling has remained fundamentally unchanged since like the dawn of humanity. I don't think that modern PC culture and wokeness will change any of that. Brooklyn White says, if only Baba Yaga was fast in Smite. I read that as Baby Yoda initially and got very confused. And typical time Amber says, hi, I love your videos. And our videos love you. That's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna go listen to the brown tone at 120 decibels. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And it happened with found footage. Nope. Damn it, why did I say the sentence like that? And it's not, no, what am I saying?